Hello, hello, hello. It's me, Chris Piascik, and in today's video, I'm going to be doing a little Adobe Fresco action. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to walk through my process for doing those weird animated morphing loops, if you've seen some. If you haven't, they look a little bit like this guy over here, and maybe a little bit like this one. And this one, and also like this one. So these weird little animated loops are something that I started to do just as like an experiment when I was trying to learn how to do frame by frame animation. And it was sort of like just like doodling process where I would just like draw something and then make a new frame and then try to change it a little bit and see what happened. And it was a lot of fun. It was sort of like even more freeing and open than just like randomly doodling, because I didn't really have to think about what I wanted to draw. I would let the sort of progress of the animation sort of dictate what I drew next. And let's just show one more because I like this one and it looks good full screen. So I'm going to walk through my process for creating one of these things. We'll do one from scratch. I don't have anything planned. These are always sort of a hoping situation. Like, you know, I really hope that it turns out okay. So we'll see. Usually they're interesting, if nothing else at all. And you'll see my process and realize that it's pretty easy and very fun to experiment with. And you all will be able to do it yourself. This process, I'll be doing it in Adobe Fresco, but the process would be the same if you're using like Procreate or any other animation or drawing software that allows you to do frame by frame animation. So let me just check in with the chat since this is a live stream. Axel Wright, thank you for being one of the newest members. You said that you love my work and my channel. I really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Nice to see you. Zachary Designs, another channel member. Crummy Doodles. We've got so many members in the chat today. So excited about that. Griven Cruz, nice to see you as well. Diana Lisa, good morning to you as always. Druzilla, nice to see you. Sven, how's it going? Nice to see everyone. So before I switch over to my iPad, I just want to quickly shout out my channel members. Couldn't do this without all of your support. The super supporter and above levels get their name drawn and included in all the videos that I make while they are active members. So these are all the current super supporter and above members. Thank you all so much. You are the best. You probably recognize some names here from the chat right now. So thank you all. Getting better with my keyboard commands over here, assigning graphics and stuff like that. I figure I've been doing these every Friday now. I should get better at the whole streaming process. Trevor, nice to see you, even though you said nong as opposed to morning. Okay, I'm going to switch over to my iPad screen and not mess around too much. Sometimes I feel like I dawdle a bit. Is that the word? Dawdle? Is that what I do? Okay, so let me just adjust my mic down a little bit so I can see my screen here and turn my camera a little bit. All right, I just got to scooch. Okay, so my document here is I went with a vertical, like 1080 by 1920, but I didn't actually use those proportions. I used 4K just because I prefer having a little bit more pixels for my drawing experience. So I chose this size because I figure I need to be posting more reels and YouTube shorts. So maybe this animation will be something that I will share as a reel. So I did it in reels proportions. So to do this kind of thing, you're just utilizing frame by frame animation. So I think before I get into doing this doodle morph animation, I'm just going to show you just a quick run through of how this works, because I think it'll be a little less confusing using simple shapes. So I'm just going to draw something. I'll just draw this like squiggly little shape right here. And then I'm going to click on the animation option at the bottom of Fresco, which is just the bottom right corner, that little circles with the play icon. If you're using Procreate or something like that, there's like the animation assist and canvas options. So to do a new frame here, we're just going to hit plus, and you'll see that the first drawing is lighter now. So that's called onion skins. What that is it allows you to see the previous frame or however many frames you set. So if you go into settings, you can see your onion skins is turned on. If you turn it off, you won't see anything, but you can like adjust the opacity if you want it to be lighter or darker, and you can show the amount of frames that are visible. So if you had like 5 different frames, you could see all of them. For this kind of thing, I like to just keep it at 1 so that I'm only seeing the previous and the next frame, because I like to just sort of let this get wild. So I'm going to leave it at 1, and then let me just show you quickly how this process works. So if we had that first shape and you just change it a little bit, so let's say we make this a little bit skinnier here, and then maybe this part gets a little bit wider, and then this gets a little skinnier, and the same up here, and we go like that. Now, if we play that, you'll see that happens. And then if you added another frame, let's say, so I did a frame in between these two, let's do one that sort of goes in between these shapes so it smooths it out a little bit. So I'm just going to draw a line that goes in between the two that I already did. So now if we play that, you'll see we've got this sort of cool undulating wiggle shape. So one thing that is helpful to know when you're doing this kind of thing is that if you just want something to like loop naturally, you only need 3 frames to have it loop. But if you have 2, it'll just look like it's sort of flashing back and forth. But 3 allows you to have a sort of nice little wiggle situation like this. So typically with frame by frame animation, there's like 2 different ways that people like to work. And one is like frame to frame, like I'm doing, or there's like, I forget what it's called, something like point to point maybe, or something like that, but it's like keyframe to keyframe. And what that is you start with like 2 things. So this could be like a character's position or something, or just if you're doing a morph, you know, let's say you start with a triangle and you want to go to a circle. So for this sort of animation, which I think it might be called point to point, that might not be right, but it's something like that. What you would do is you would add frames in between that help you get to the next point. See, that's why I'm calling it point to point. So for this, now that we're in between, what you would do here is draw something that tries to get you closer to the next point. So if we're starting with this triangle, and we're trying to get to the circle, what we would do is start to round out that triangle shape without going too far that it's sort of jarring. So even just doing that, you'll start to see that it, you know, starts to work. And you could even set this to, there's different playback options. So there's loop, and there's boomerang, which will go to the end and then come back. So this works well for this kind of thing. So now that we got the basics out of the way, let's just dive in and start doing one of these weird morphs where I just sort of wing it and figure it out as I go. And I'll show you like the ways that I sort of get creative with this kind of thing and mess around. So I'm going to make a new layer to start this. Check in with the chat real quick. Diana Lisa, you said smooth transitions. I mean, yeah, like I was just sort of messing around quickly, and you can see that it's really forgiving. So don't be intimidated about doing frame by frame animations, because even just messing around, it sort of works pretty well. Okay, so as I mentioned, I don't know what to start with, and as I said in a recent video, when in doubt, draw a slice of pizza. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna draw a slice of pizza, and then we'll try to morph that into something. So come in here, get some drippy cheese situation, like this, maybe like that, and then draw some crust. I don't want to go too detailed because we're doing a animation here, and I don't want to make the redrawing process a little too tedious. So I'm going to try to make this fairly simplified, but it's got to look like a good piece of pizza. Another thing to think about when you're doing frame by frame animation is you only see each frame for like a fraction of a second. So even if your drawing isn't perfect, it still will look pretty good. Because it, just is up there for a second. Okay. I don't want too much detail, but we'll do that. And let me just center it like that. So I don't want the pizza to just be up for like, I don't know, just like a flash. So you only see it for a second. So what I'm going to do is just draw it 2 more times so that it's actually visible. So it's not just like a subliminal pizza, if you will. So I'm just going to quickly trace this twice, trying to stay relatively close. You don't have to actively try to change the drawing to make it have that vibration. It's just a natural result of, just redrawing something. If you try to make it like a noticeable wiggle, it'll end up looking sort of jarring because that's too much movement. You just want just a little bit. If you haven't seen my last, if you didn't watch my last live stream or you missed it or you don't follow me on Instagram, I'm doing a special drawing prompt list for to go along with like the Inktober thing. And I call it Stinktober because I'm a child, but that's just what I called it. But anyway, there's a drawing prompt list. You can find that a download to that list in the description of my last live stream. It says Stinktober on the thumbnail. But I did prompts for every day of the month that I'm going to follow along with, and it would be fun to see what other people do with those prompts. We have a hashtag going for it, and I'm also doing a contest to coincide with the channel getting close to 20,000 members. I think with the current trajectory at the end of October, I should pass 20,000, which is pretty awesome. Since it's only been a year and my initial goal was 10,000. So doing a giveaway for 3 winners, and every time you do one of the Inktober prompts, it'll be an entry into the contest. So there we go. I drew the pizza 3 times, so now we've got that fun little wiggle. It gives you that like old school animation look, which is kind of fun. Good morning, Casp. Good morning, Cold. Good morning, symbols that I don't understand, but a white dove, I think. Good morning to you. Megan Sims, good morning. You said that you are very glad you found my channel. Love how you simplify things, but also if somebody scroll, yes. yeah, serious ADHD going on in this situation. I'm glad you appreciate it. Some people don't. There's like a healthy balance of comments on my channel where it's like, I think it's funny. I like your craziness. Other times, like, this is impossible to watch. The video starts this time, blah, blah, blah. You need to cut all this out. I need to know. I don't know what I'm talking about right now. Okay, so we got these pizzas, and now we're gonna try to morph this. So I'm gonna make a new frame, and what I do now is I just look at this and just change it a little bit and try to, like, I don't know, maybe start to see something that could start to happen. And as I look at this, the first thing that I see, because I tend to see faces and things, is these two top pepperonis, and then this slightly bigger one below that looks like a surprised face action. So I'm gonna go with that. Also, I just saw in the chat that Diana Lisa mentioned that the prompt list is in the chat. So awesome, you can look for it there. So because I'm thinking I see a face here, I'm gonna go with that. So to do that, I'm gonna try to start to expand this pepperoni and make it into an eye. And I'm gonna do the same for this one, where I'm gonna make it a bigger eye. So I'm just making this pepperoni slightly bigger, and I'm making this drip a little bit smaller. And I'm gonna make these little pepperoni spots turn into like one pupil. So to do that, I'm gonna start to move them closer to each other. So I'm just moving them a little bit at a time. So like this one, pull that one in, there, like that. And then I'm gonna make this pepperoni bigger. And maybe we want it to be like an open mouth. So I'll start to make these pepperoni spots like bigger so that maybe they can eventually fill in the mouth. And then I'll start to like curve this line around to, like, I don't know, make it more like a face. Then maybe push this out. And I don't know what we'll do with the top, but I think I'm just going to start to simplify it now to give us some flexibility in terms of something. So maybe I'll just sort of start to get rid of this line by just kind of breaking it up a little bit, smoothing it out. So one thing that you want to do is like not have anything randomly disappear. So I like to just sort of let things naturally kind of go away by just making it a little bit smaller, just sort of slowly getting rid of it. So maybe we can have this drippy part just like drip off or something. So maybe we'll make this a little bit longer. And then I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with this. We can have the, I don't know, the pepperoni go with it. Then, so this is already dripping down, so I'm just going to make that go further. And then maybe we can draw some like cheese separation lines or something like that. And then for this drip up here, I think I'm just gonna like have it move down a little bit, but make it get less drippy so it sort of just goes into itself. And now I'll make a new frame, and now like this is our new, oh, I forgot we missed one thing here. So I'm just gonna pull that in. So now this is like our new starting point. So I'm gonna go with it. So I'm gonna make this eye even bigger and then get rid of that little cheese droplet there. Make this one a little bit bigger. I like that this sort of looks like a bulge for the eye. So these things can start to make the pupil, so we're close there. And then we can pull these together. So it's like almost a full pupil at this point. Then I think I want to make this start to be more of like a, not a perfect circle shape. So I think those are enough where it can start to come together. And then maybe we can make this like a round cheek. And so since we're going to have that bottom part drop off, I think we can close that part of the face and then just have this separate and come down. We want it to go kind of slowly because it's just like goopy, drippy cheese. So I'm just going to have it start to drop a little bit. Okay. I don't know what to do about the top. I don't know if we should like, maybe we can make this into an ear because it's already starting to come out a little bit. So I'm just like using the shapes to dictate what I draw. So like this maybe can come in to make that little ear thing. Maybe we can turn this top into like a hairline. So when I talked about it just being like a doodle, it's that same process, but it's like, I don't have to really think about it as much. Like I'm just letting this sort of dictate what I draw because it's sort of showing itself to me, if that makes sense. Because like whenever I do one of these, I never really know where it's going to go. Oh, you know what? We can have this like cheese droplet start to come down and form like a nose for this little guy. And like we just 2 frames ago, we had a piece of pizza and now we're already at a face. And as you scroll through, you can just see it kind of come to life. Then we make a new frame. And what I like about this is it's like a whole new situation every time you make a new frame. It's like, okay, now let's see what we can do with this. Let's see. Yeah, Watson, you said you were ready for Procreate Dreams. Yeah, I'm excited to mess around with it. I've been watching some videos to check it out, and I think it definitely looks cool. I'm really excited to play around with it. I don't imagine that it's gonna like make me switch back fully. I think it'll be something that I'll want to play around with, but I think there's still gonna be some ways that the Fresco motion stuff has its advantages, even though clearly Procreate Dreams being like a full-on animation software is gonna be really great. But there's just some like really intuitive things that you can do in Fresco with like the different controls over the paths and how, like, I think if you're doing something where you're just adding motion to an animation, to adding motion to an illustration, I think there's probably an argument that Fresco still might be a little bit better in that regard, but I definitely I'm curious. I'm not just gonna, assume that Fresco will be better in that regard, but I've mentioned this before, but just like the seamless back and forth with the other Adobe apps is really important for me as someone who's a professional illustrator and has to deliver those kind of files to clients and like do edits and revisions. So definitely excited to play around with it, and we'll see. I will definitely make a video about it as soon as I can. So I decided to move that like blob in the center up and like have it start to form teeth. Thought that might be fun. And making the eyes even bigger because I like big eyes. And at this point, I think we can sort of get rid of that little divot and make normal pupils now. And we can get this nose going. Maybe we can have some little separation here in the hair. I think this looks a little bit like me, maybe. This is a self-portrait that we're doing. All right. And then we don't want to abandon these hair details because it'll look weird in the movement. All right. So now we can start to make this cheese go a little bit faster. So we can get it off the screen. So I'm just sort of copying the shapes, but like lengthening them to sort of mimic how stretchy cheese is. I'll make a new frame. William L., you said, do you prefer pixel or vector for animation? So for me, I just use the pixel brushes because when you're doing animation frame by frame, unless I was bringing bringing my drawings into an animation app that needed it to be vector, I would work in vector. But since I'm not doing that, and I know that my final result is going to be a pixel-based animation because, animation is for screen, then there's no reason for me to use vector. I mean, there is the little, the drawing experience with the vector trimming is kind of cool. But aside from that, there's just so much more control with pixel brushes. So that's what I stick with. So I think I'm going to make a tongue out of that negative space shape. And then I'm just expanding that red area to fill in that shape, fill in the mouth. Maybe I'll start to make this nose grow a little bit. I like to have things like constantly changing. Maybe we'll start to make this hair do something. Start to curl like this. I don't know why, but maybe it'll lead to something. Always like trying to plant seeds for what can come. Maybe this one can come down like that. Start to curl over. Make this ear a little bit bigger, because who knows, why not? Start to move the pupils out. And let's get this cheese out of here. I don't want to play it yet. We got to wait a little bit more, a little bit further. Eco, hello from Brazil. And thanks for joining in. That's rad that you're watching in Brazil. Drusilla, you said it's starting to remind you of Millhouse a little bit. Yeah, actually, it is. I think There's a lot of Simpsons in my subconscious, as it was one of my earliest influences. So I think they tend to come out in my work. Greven, you said, do you always work with red first and then change the colors? No, I don't actually. I usually sketch in like gray and then always do my line work in black. But I chose red when I started doing this because I didn't want it to just be all black. And I was thinking that maybe I'll start to change the color as I go. But then I forgot. So sometimes I'll use red if I'm like doing something where I need like guides to help me draw, especially with like lettering. But yeah, I usually just go with gray and black. But here I'm doing it to just add some color. But maybe we can start changing it, because that can have a cool effect. Aiko, you said, do you have client work asking for animations? I definitely have a mix of both. I have a video where I talked about like, I think it's called like 5 things that had the biggest impact on my career as an illustrator. And one of those things was adding motion to my work, because it opened up a lot of really great opportunities. I started doing these like weird looping animations at a very good point. Not intentionally, it was just by accident that I was experimenting at this time. Right when like social media advertising started to take off, where all these brands were, trying to build a social media presence and needing lots and lots of content. And those sort of like, because there could be motion, they wanted there to be motion. So even just subtle movement within an animation was attractive to them. So I've gotten lots of work where I'm doing like illustration, but also illustration that has a little bit of movement to it. And some of my most lucrative projects have been that kind of thing. Like I've done series of like little weird morphs for like McDonald's. I've done stuff for Microsoft like this, Facebook, just Adidas, just lots of stuff like that. And because it's advertising, it pays much better than a lot of other areas of illustration. So I would say it's probably like 50-50 in terms of whether it's a static illustration or in something with motion. Okay, so I'm excited about this frame because it's going to be our last cheese. Like we've gotten rid of it now. We needed it to just slowly go away, so it's gone. And now I think we need to start doing something with this. And I don't know what, but I want to just start to get weird with it to let us sort of, I don't know, do something else. So I think the shape of this nose curling up makes me want to do one of those weird little ghost things that I do. So I'm going to like pull this up further like this and sort of taper it, and then start to have these lines where it's going to be eyes that will open up, but I don't want them to just be there immediately. And then maybe we can start to make this tongue bigger. And maybe we have eyes open up here too. Like maybe this is going to turn into a character, and maybe it can like crawl out of the mouth or something. I don't know. Maybe we can start to hint at like a hand coming up there. Oops. I forgot to wear my gloves, so I accidentally did a double tap with my palm, I think, or the side of my hand. I'm going to start to simplify and make these teeth a little bit bigger. I don't know what we're going to do with them, but that's what we're doing at the moment. Then maybe I'll just do this line as is. Just going to keep this eye as is because I don't know. I don't have a game plan for that yet. Let me know in the chat if you have some ideas for what we can do with some of this stuff. I'm going to move this eye over. So it's going to start to hide this ear, and then maybe we can have it go away because of that. So when I'm trying to do these things, I'm always trying to like get rid of stuff so that I can make something new, because you don't want things to just disappear. So if I move this eye over, I can start to just get rid of that ear, and then it'll be gone because it'll be hidden by the eye shape. And that eye is just a circle, so it gives us more flexibility for what we can do next. Maybe we can turn these squiggly things into like more of those little ghost characters. I'm just doing these like little lines to be the start of eyeballs. And then I'm just slowly following this shape a little bit. Actually, let's have this one come this way because it matches the shape that we already have a little bit more. Okay. I think after 10, then we'll play it through once and see what's happening. But I don't like to play it too soon because I like to be surprised a little bit. Daddy-osaurus, nice to see you here as well. D7, you said you're watching from Italy on vacation. That's awesome. Glad to hear joining in on that. Creative Comadre, glad that you're excited about this morph thing. Shunkley Jones, how's it going? Daryl, you said this looks so rewarding to conjure up what you want to happen next. How rewarding is this as an artist with ADHD? Yeah. So for me, it's sort of like meditation because it like gets me out of my head and I can just sort of play. Because like even just like doodling something, I feel like I'm overthinking it so much. But here, there's not that much overthinking I can do because there's like a set, there's only so much I can do with what I have, if that makes sense. Like I can't just draw whatever I want. I have to make something from what's here. So I'm gonna like skip around here. So I want this ghost to be like flying up. So I'm just gonna keep that trajectory. So I'm gonna start moving it to the right. Maybe make it a little bit bigger like this. Can have the, actually what I'll do is reference the lines that are already there from the top of the eyes and then have the eyes open below that. So like that'll help with the movement because you'll see those lines going up. And also because we're obscuring that like big black pupil area, I think it'll like flow because that will look like it's just like splitting into two. You know what else we could do? We could do a little tricky thing here where we can make a mouth start to happen and it'll sort of blend nicely because it'll be happening where the eye lines used to be. Let's pull this thing down. Maybe you can go behind this one. Sort of bumping into each other. I don't know what's going to happen there. You can pull this one down. Maybe it's looking at the other one. So I'm like following those same curves, so it like flows, like the lines are moving in the same direction, and that makes it just sort of flow nicer. Oh, you know what we can do? We can make this like a hole where this ghost can like fly through. That'll be fun, I guess. I think I'm gonna close that. I don't know why. I don't know what I'm doing yet. I'm just gonna start to like bring in this other stuff so we can get rid of it. And I think I'm gonna start to get rid of this line up here. I think we can actually just kind of make it a little bit thinner like that. And then this can go away. And then we can just start to make this a little bit smaller. I'm just trying to like resolve these leftover shapes that I don't want anymore. Oh, I forgot that we had this game plan to let this eyeball start to obscure the ear so we can get rid of it that way. So I'm going to pull this over more like that. And then we can just show a little bit of that there. And then let's take this shape right here and start to turn this into like a little weird face. And then maybe we can turn these into like little action lines so that they can kind of go away. And then we'll make this circle just get a little bit smaller there. So all of these like little decisions like that are going to be super helpful, because when we get to the next frame, you'll see this is all we have to work with now. And we can, you know, it's almost like a fresh canvas. So before we start with this frame, I think we've earned a quick little playthrough just to see how things are going. So I think it's kind of fun so far. I think we could play around with starting to change the color a little bit, like darken it up. So what I'll do is I will turn off the onion skin for a second, and I will set this to lock transparency. And I think we'll do like a subtle, like a slow change. So I'm just going to grab this like giant brush and then kind of go over the line so it's a little bit darker, and then we'll do the same here. I don't know if I think I have to keep locking transparency. And then I'm just going to make this a little bit darker. And maybe we can just like move to, let me see if oh yeah, so you got to do lock transparency each time if you're doing it for each frame. I think we'll go to black and then we can maybe change to something else if we want to. So it has a kind of a cool effect when you start to change colors subtly like that. And now I'll just turn back on onion skins and we can start to work with this. Finkdes, you said, thanks for inspiring me to doodle more. That's so great to hear. Oh, we got suggestions that I was missing out on. Make the tongue into a frog. I like that. You should pop the eyes off to either side and have them spin 360. Ooh. Well, maybe we can pop some of these like ghosts off the sides because we only have one eye left and I've already decided it's a black hole for one of these ghosts. Left eye turned into a pumpkin. Maybe we can make one of these, like that weird ghost in the middle, turn into a pumpkin. I think that's a good idea. Dave from Ethiopia, thank you so much for joining in. Daryl, it is relaxing. Scott, you said, loving the pic, character reminds me of Fry from Futurama. I can see that. Definitely from the Simpsons vibe. The brush I'm using is my go-to. It's the classic inker from Retro Supply Co. You can find a link in the description, an affiliate link to find it out. It's in their liner set. Daryl, you said, what big update would you like to see in Fresco? I would like the ability to bring my animations or the stuff into Photoshop when I want to do like more complex stuff. Right now, there's like, because the timeline situation is so different in the way Photoshop works versus Fresco, you can't really do it easily. So I think that's what I would like to see the most. Okay, so I'm going to start, whoops, we switched to a brush somehow. Classic inker. Okay, I'm gonna start to bring this ghost down here into the black hole. I think he's being sucked into the black hole. That's why he's like, ah! Okay, so we're going to start to turn this one into a pumpkin. So we'll start to have that pop up. And then maybe we can go with the jack-o'-lantern vibes by making these into like little triangle cuts. So I'm just trying to like subtly change it into a pumpkin. So because I moved the shape out, but there were lines here, this is a good opportunity to like add in those like pumpkin line details without having it look like it appears randomly. Maybe this this ghost can start to sort of wiggle down that way, and this one can, I don't know what this one's gonna do. Maybe this one can do like a, like fly up and go inside the pumpkin, maybe? Who knows? I'm trying to figure out like where, so if it's stretched out and it's flying up, maybe it's like this. Is looking where it's going. Maybe we will enhance the smile, make it a bigger smile. I think this one is going the other way. I don't know. I don't know yet. Maybe this one is being sucked into the black hole too, unfortunately. We got too many ghosts to deal with, and I think this black hole is a good way to get rid of them. Because we can't be controlling this many ghosts. Oh, you know what we should do a animation smear. A smear is like a quick blur of movement in one frame, and they're really fun to do. I'll show you how to do one in a second. We got to find a good use for it. Maybe we'll do it when they get sucked into the black hole. So I'm going to make this, because this is a black hole, I feel like maybe it should start to be like undulating or something like this. Maybe we can put some like lines to make it look like it has some depth to it. Like a portal or something? I don't know. I'm going to turn this outer line into like a disconnected wiggly line so we can start to get rid of it. So this is supposed to turn into a frog, I believe. I don't really know what frogs, like I guess I know what they look like, but okay, so I'm starting to. So I think it's going to need to climb out of this hole. So I'm going to make the hole get smaller, and then it'll just sort of like pop out of it, I guess. I think that's the plan. Okay, so I don't think we forgot about anything there. And now here we are. And I think at this point, it's nice to just sort of acknowledge where we came from. So somehow we have a frog, we've got ghosts going into a black hole, we've got a pumpkin, and like we started here with a slice of pizza. Like this is why this is one of my favorite things to do, because it is just, I don't even understand how we got here. I never would have imagined that, hey, I'm going to draw a frog and some ghosts flying into a black hole. But that's what's happening. That's what we're doing. Hey, Nintendo, nice to see you here. Gryven, you said you're starting to realize that you do way too many frames on animations. Fresco has collapsed a couple of times on files that have more than one layer. Oh, wow. I've done some pretty complicated things in Fresco, and I've never had it crash on me. But also, maybe your file size doesn't need to be that big if you're doing animation, because you're not going to be printing it. So, Axel, thanks so much. Glad you're enjoying this. Gets Uno. Have I taken a look at the new Procreation? I've watched some videos. I'm definitely excited to play around with it for sure. Aiko, you said, have you used, I haven't used those plugins for Photoshop. I used to use Animator's Toolbar, which I thought was amazing, but it doesn't work anymore with the new Photoshop. So I'll have to look at those because I've been wanting something to replace it. I've just been like using some actions to sort of replace what I was missing. All right, so what I'm doing now is I'm trying to have the feet of this frog start to come out, because it's got to fully pop out of this hole, because the hole is shrinking. His eyes need to get bigger because it's a little startled, because it's being birthed out of a hole, if you will. All right, let's work on this pumpkin. So I'm just pushing the lines that we already had out a little bit further, exaggerating those pumpkin lines that we drew. And now we can make these eyes bigger. Okay, so let's do some let's do like a motion blur for this other stuff. Not a smear to show like a motion blur. So what you do with a motion blur is you make like a one frame that like shows a whole bunch of fast movement. And I think it'll be cool to do it with some of the stuff and not the other stuff. So it'll look like some things are moving faster than other stuff. Like these ghosts going to the black hole are going to be moving faster than the frog and the pumpkin. So to make a motion blur, you gotta, what I'm gonna do is like stretch this ghost shape like in to this portal, the black hole. And we'll do the same for this one. Okay, so this is where it gets fun. So what we're gonna do is just like stretch the eyes and like the features, like the whole length. And this is what will make it look like a quick movement, because we'll like see it the whole time. You should Google like motion blurs from just like the not motion blurs, Google animation smears, and you'll find like so many cool ones. There's like tons of great SpongeBob ones. So you can do this thing where you like stretch the eyes, or you can like repeat shapes. These are both common ways that people do this sort of thing. So I figured I'll do it both ways. We'll do the mouth multiple times. And then maybe this, we can do like a quick, like this ghost is going real far fast. I think I like these so much because they look so ridiculous and weird. But they don't look like, when you play them in the animation, they end up just looking like a quick movement, which is wild to me. And then maybe this one can fly off the page. That's another good way to dispose of something in your animation that you don't want to deal with anymore. All right, let's do a new frame. And let's start with these blurs or smears so that we can kind of dissolve them or finish them up. So that is going to go off the page, and then maybe this one can fly into the pumpkin's mouth, because why not? I don't know what's going to happen next, but Seems like a fun thing to do. And I think for this, we'll just make it super fast. Like this is just closing in on itself. They're gone. They're in the black hole. And it's collapsed. It is collapsed. We're going to be left with almost nothing. Dylan Gentry, nice to see you as well. Decembin, the frog is holding a small slice of pizza. That's a good idea. Maybe the frog can bring the pizza back. I think that was so one of the things when you're doing this, when you're trying to make a looping animation, is figuring out how to get back to the start. So maybe the frog does have a piece of pizza. We'll see. We'll see what happens when we get there. All right, so we gotta get this frog out of here. Maybe it can start to come forward. So I'll go like this. And then I guess these froggy legs. The other thing that I like about doing these things is like, this is a bad drawing, but it's in movement. So it's like, even though at this point, it's going to look terrible, you won't know how bad it is when you're watching the animation, because it's just falling. Only you all and myself will know that there's a terrible frog in here. Okay, so let's do one more frame for this like black hole where it's just shrinking into nothing. And then actually, I don't think we need to do anything else for that tail because it was going so fast that it's just gone. So I guess let's get this frog. So he got pushed out. So maybe is, oops, he's forward a little bit over here. And he's fully out. I think he's probably, I'm sad to say it, but he's falling out of a hole. Like he's probably just going to fall out of frame because he can't fly. I don't think. I like this falling position. I don't know. This is making me laugh. All right, I think this frog drawing is my favorite. It's ridiculous. Okay. All right, let's so this ghost flew into this pumpkin's mouth, so I think maybe it should like blowed out, like it's gonna burst. Maybe the pumpkin's gonna explode. I don't know. Should the pumpkin explode or just pop back and fall down? I don't know. That looks silly. Now let's do a quick test run, see what's happening here. Let's turn it off the boomerang because that is confusing. All right, so we got this pizzas going. All right, we got pumpkin that might need to explode. We got a black hole, and we've got this falling frog. And we need to get back to a slice of pizza. Aiko, you said you have to open Photoshop and Rosetta for M1 Max. That's how I was doing it for a while, but on the current version of Photoshop, it still is not working for me for some reason. Aditya, sorry if I'm saying that wrong. You said you do everyday art, spend 15 days. That's awesome. I always say like the first 30 days or like the first 100 days are the hardest. Like if you're trying to do it for a long time, it was so much easier to stick with it the longer I did it. All right, so should this pumpkin? I think it's gonna get bigger. I mean, it could just turn into something else, or it could explode. I don't know what that is. This looks ridiculous. I was trying to make it look like it shut its mouth. We'll see. And then this, I think we can just go like that. So there's just like, actually, let's not do that. Let's do just a quick little spot, like 2 little lines. Okay. Maybe the frog thing should do that. You know, in like Looney Tunes or something, when something realizes they're gonna fall and it doesn't happen right away. So we'll just have the frog look over at us like, oh, am I about to fall? All right, new frame. I don't know what we're doing with this pumpkin up here. Explode. Okay, we've got explosions. I'm gonna do it. So basically, I'm just using the shapes that are here and just sort of splitting it up and moving them out a little bit. Maybe I'll do some like lines to show that it is like hollow or something. I don't know. I don't want to do too many details. Just some little motion lines. I don't know, pumpkin seeds. I guess they're already removed. I'm not ready for this frog to fully leave yet. I think he needs to do some like frantic kick moves, maybe. Or arm flapping. Let's see if this holds up when we play it. Okay, new frame. All right, let's continue this explosion. So this is fast. These things are, we can't move things slowly when they're exploding. So these pieces are already halfway through. We could do some smear action like this, or we're just like exaggerating the shapes. Basically just trying to not have anything look like it disappeared. Like making sure there's enough pieces that it looks like it's all from the same thing. Oh, we forgot to draw our frog. So I'm doing sort of dramatic movements with the feet and arms to sort of make it look like he's flailing. I think I'll also do some motion lines to exaggerate it even more. And I think he should be looking down. Okay, so, whoops. Just sort of like resolving some of these shapes. So maybe this, he's gonna get bonked. He got bonked with a piece of pumpkin, unfortunately. Some random dots from the leftovers from the explosion. Oh, you know what we can do? We can maybe do a like a motion, a smear. I don't know why I keep saying motion blur because that's what it is. But we can do a smear with like the arms to exaggerate it even more. And like, as you can see, I'm just drawing nonsense. Like these are just squiggly little lines. Sort of making the mouth bigger each time too, because it's just yelling louder and louder. All right, let's see what's happening here. Okay, so this thing hit, and now it, whoops, it's, shut, and continuing that smear a little bit. I don't know. He's going to have to fall in the next frame, so I'm just doing one last chaotic spaz of movement, and then he's just going to drop real fast. And you know what? This is sort of the ideal situation because we're going to have an empty canvas. And when you can clear out your canvas, you can do whatever you want. And then we could just slide the pizza back into the screen. Okay, so I'm just gonna put a quick little motion line from that pumpkin thing flying. And we're gonna do one last frame of the frog before his demise. And this is when he looks back at us. Oh, wait, I think this is that moment where he thinks maybe he's not going to fall. Or he's like, wait, am I flying or something? Or he's just calm. Is this the calm before the storm? That looked like a blank stare. I want eye contact. Sometimes you gotta like zoom out to get the eye contact right. Okay, that feels better. All right, I told you this is gonna be a quick fall. So he's going so fast that I'm warping his his body a little bit. Exaggerating features because it's going to happen so fast. I'm going super like kind of just barely looking like the original here because I want to show you how even with this like looking not even close to the original, how it's gonna sort of hold up as an animation. So I'm gonna have it start to we're gonna, you know what we're gonna do here? We're gonna put in like a secret little butt that only we know about. Okay. So you can't even tell when that frog falls that it just like is just nonsense. So I think we need to get the pizza back, and I think we just can slide it in. So what I'm going to do here is, oh, the cool thing too is we don't even have to worry about switching back color because there's nothing on our screen here. So I'm going to duplicate this frame, move it to the end, and I'm going to duplicate the second one too, because I want that, I want to keep that wiggle. I don't want it to just slide in, not like the wiggle from the line boil, which is the natural effect of the movement from redrawing. So if we have that here, we have more to work with. So when you transform, it asks you if you want to transform just the frame or all of the frames. This is really helpful because I just want to transform this frame. But if I wanted to move the whole animation, you could do that as well. So I think what I'll do here is like pull this maybe it'll just come in from over there. And then this one. We'll go like that. And then on this third one, let's make it a little bit bigger and like further down. And I think that'll make it sort of have a little bit of like a pop into place. So let's see if that worked. Let's turn off our onion skins and let's play. Yeah, see how it's got that little pop back? I think we can exaggerate it even more. Let's make this a little bit bigger, like that. And let's actually go back to the beginning. And for this first one, let's make this one a little bit smaller. And now it'll have even more of like a little bop. So that is how I do my weird morphs. This is pretty silly. I think it turned out pretty fun. I know I had a good time. Hopefully you had a good time watching this. Scott, you said you can't find the classic inker on Retro Supply Co. It is in the liner set. And as a reminder, Adobe Fresco, if you're using Adobe Fresco, uses Photoshop brushes, so you're not going to find Fresco-specific brushes. Oh, Dylan, you already answered that question, so thank you. Anyway, I hope you all like this. Definitely check out the the Stinktober prompt list. And yeah, I will see you all soon. New video on Tuesday, live streams every Friday at 10:30 Eastern. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.